Derek Wheatley, and welcome to episode 61 of the Wheatley podcast. Thank you very much to Cheryl Byrne for coming on last week. She was the first person to appear in our YouTube video setup. It went down quite well, I think, and a couple of people responded that they took a little bit more in kind of the visual aspect of things. And look, some people are better at that, like listening, and some people like to see and hear and things like that. So thank you very much to Cheryl. Subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't done so already, because John has been editing some clips from the from last week's show and from for the foreseeable future. And yeah, it'll just pop up on your inbox on Saturday and Sunday, and it's just like a 3-minute thing just to kind of get you. If you haven't seen the episode or heard the episode, it's good to kind of get a little taste of what it's all about. And actually, last week's clip was about me burning a teddy bear. So there's going to be those little kind of weird confessions that I make in there that I'm ashamed of and embarrassed about, but it's all about having a bit of crack. Live and Joyful is still running, and by the time this comes out, it's coming out Wednesday. So actually Wednesday evening, I'm having Calvin back to talk about films, exclusively about films, something I haven't talked about before. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's everything covered for now. So I'm going to introduce my guest today, who's a musician and a singer. And if I don't get this name right after all we've talked about, it's Saya Novinger. How are you doing, Saya?
I'm good, thank you. And you did get it right.
Yeah, just to explain, I was saying your name wrong. I was saying Saya, and then I was like, well, it's either Novinger or Novinger, and then it's actually Navinger. So
yes.
I was all over the place, but it's lovely to have you on, because this is the first time that we've actually crossed continents, and we've gone to another time zone even.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Where are you at this moment?
I'm in California, sunny California, and I'm about 2 hours north of LA, so Southern California.
Southern California. I can tell you now, it is a lovely Irish spring day. It's lashing rain, and it's actually very, very windy as well. So we've had it all day. I will say that I'm recording this is just after 7, and it's like all day it's been like this. But
oh my gosh.
But
we would actually love some of your rain right now.
I was just thinking that we always hear about things over, when we hear about like LA or California and the fact of like there hasn't rained in a certain amount of time, or the drought and all this kind of stuff, and we're complaining on the other end of things. So it's very hard to get the right balance, isn't it? But listen, we'll get into it. Can you give us a short history of your upbringing, please?
Yes, so I was born in LA, and shortly after that, my parents and I moved overseas, and because of my dad's job, we had to move every 1 to 2 to 3 years. So it was a wild ride, just growing up, moving all over the place, and it was always to different countries. So it was a very international upbringing, and I came back semi-permanently to the US when I was 18. And so it's been interesting trying to navigate the world as an American, but having lived most of my life overseas. So,
has it been a positive experience?
Yeah, everyone asks me that, and honestly, I don't know what it's like. Well, I've been in the country now since I came back, so this is the longest I've been in any one place. It is the US, but before that, that was all I knew. I only knew what it was like to move a lot. And so I just understood it was our duty as a family to move, and it was really hard, but I learned how to make friends really fast, and it taught me how to adapt and absorb the really good things about each culture that I got to experience, because in each different country, we were there, usually it was we were there for 2 years, a whole total of 2 years. So, in 2 years in a place, you really get to know the culture and the people. And so, I don't know, I was able to be like a kind of like chameleon sometimes, just absorbing a lot of different kinds of music, languages, and just, yeah, it was a huge gift for me. It was hard, definitely hard moving and leaving my friends, over and over again, for sure. That was really difficult. But the benefits I reap from it are just invaluable. I feel like it's just it was so rich. It was so rich in knowledge and experience. And
Yeah, we it's good because we'll be getting to talk a bit more about those different like cultures and lands that you've been to and been able to kind of, as you say, absorb. Um,
mm-hmm.
So as we always ask, when did you first become aware of mental health?
It's a kind of a hard question to answer. I grew up primarily in a time when it still wasn't really talked about that much. But from a young age, I was the only child. And so I guess being an only child, you do get to, you understand like the things that, help you calm down. You have a lot of alone time. And so what do you feel with that? Your imagination. My imagination was really, really rich as a child. And so, I think that allowed me just to understand myself and like, oh, I do need to, have my own time for a while if I ever get really stressed out. And I do have, the things that I enjoy doing that like replenish me, recharge me. And so, I think I always, was aware of it in that way from a young age. But then I guess in high school, the term mental health, and then more in college and after that became a thing. But I feel like I was honestly most aware of it just the last few years. Not like very long.
Yeah, again, it's just interesting from a point of view of recording with a guest every week and hearing what they, or when they heard about it first, or how they deal with it themselves and stuff. It's just an interesting kind of, I suppose, graph of what I'm kind of finding out about. And it's obviously different age groups we talked as well, and different, people from different backgrounds and financial situations when they were young and all. And it's an interesting topic to kind of always kind of, that's why I always want to bring it up kind of first. And then, when we can kind of move away from that, we can kind of relax into maybe, a bit more, fun stuff. But we're going to talk a lot about music on this episode with you. So do you remember when music first made an impact on you?
I feel like it's always been around my whole life. It's one of those things that was always there. So my father, he actually studied choral conducting. So he would conduct choirs, and he had his regular job, but wherever we moved, he would create these international choirs. And so from an early age, I was going to rehearsal, and so hours and hours of, since I was a baby, basically, sitting in on rehearsals and singing. He was always singing to me, and so I was always singing also. I don't remember a time when I wasn't singing. And he always filled the house with music, all kinds of music, because he loved all that classical stuff, from early as the 1400s, all the way back. And he also loved, 70s rock and roll. So we had a pretty eclectic kind of musical library in the house. So
I always like line up 70s rock and roll with California for some reason, and
for sure.
It could be, the idea, like films and TV always seem to present that kind of idea, and then like Fleetwood Mac, I always think of, even though I know a couple of members were from England and that, but there is this
exactly.
funny,
No, you're right. Yeah, if you think of like palm trees and like the sunset here, beaches or something. Yeah, well, he grew up in that time here, so he was able to. He was like living in it. He was in all. He saw the Doors when they were still like before they were unpopular. He saw them like perform at his school auditorium, and Jim Morrison was so shy he wouldn't face him. He had his back to them the whole time because he was like, wow. Oh, no. Yeah.
That is, my younger brother is obsessive. If I'm obsessive about the Beatles, he's obsessive about the Doors, and in
Really?
particular, yeah, in particular, Jim Morrison. And you know, we'll talk a bit about performing, but I always, you know, that
Mhm,
idea of Jim Morrison turning his back and turning to his back to the audience, and Michael
mhm,
Stipe used to do that as well when
mhm,
REM first started, and
mhm.
when you see them, the progression of artists like that, you know, when Jim Morrison went into crowds and, uh,
Yeah, my gosh.
you know, Michael Stipe became this like amazing front person, you know, that was kind of full of energy and emotion. And I love the
Mhm.
idea of the progression of someone from nerves or anxiety, whatever it might be, to like
Yeah,
this global stardom. I think it's funny, you know.
yeah. It's
Um,
amazing.
you have this, you mentioned it about different cultures and different lands that you'd been to, and I know it's on your Instagram page. It says it, and
Mhm.
I guess I've kind of got a part of the answer why it says that now, because I didn't know you'd obviously moved around quite a bit, but was that like, because we're going to talk a bit about, you know, the Irish side of things and the Irish
Mhm.
songs and music you like.
Mhm.
Um, is there a number of countries that you absorb their particular type of traditional music?
Um, it's that's a really good question. Um, I have always been very curious and researching as much as I can all the time. And so, let's say I was um, in Brunei or something. I mean, I would absorb what is there, but I would also just be like searching and searching, however I can for other kinds of music all around the world. So it was, I was raised in a household where you find out and you read as much as you can, and so let's see. So I grew up in 7 different countries. So regionally, I would say Asia, South America, and the Middle East.
Mm.
I didn't actually get to live in Europe,
Okay.
but being American, there's so much Irish culture that's
Mm.
just intertwined with everything that we do that I don't think most Americans like don't know that. But
Mm.
I went to Ireland before, and it just hit me like so hard how I could really feel how I could feel like how many Irish immigrants traveled to the US and gave their culture to the US, because I feel like so much of it is embedded in our culture. I think I just wish more Americans were aware of that, I guess. Like, this thing that we do is actually, Irish thing, or even our storybooks and stuff.
Mm.
And so in that way, I felt um, closer to Irish culture um, than others,
Mm.
I would say.
I
Um,
I think there is a joke in Ireland, like a kind of a running joke that everybody knows, and it's always the wink wink stuff where obviously we know how many Irish people went to America, and we know how you know, it spreads then, you know, through down through generations. But when we hear someone like Joe Biden, you know, Joe Biden has had, you know, relations from County Mayo, but we hear a lot of Americans saying that they're Irish, you know, we're immediately like a bit skeptical, because
mhm,
I think sometimes I think the Irishness is kind of worn as a badge of, you know, if you don't know or you haven't been to Ireland, I think it's easier to kind of go, oh yeah, like yeah, oh, my such and such was Irish. But I think when people kind of come over, and whether you
mhm,
have I will say this, whether you have an Irish background or not, I'm talking about just an American or whoever it may be, Canadian, is coming over to Ireland and they see it and they kind of absorb it. It is quite a it's quite a proud culture, I think. Around the world, people will probably be watching me and hearing me now going, "You're always giving out about it." But yeah, yes, I am always giving out
mhm,
about it. I'm not including me, but I mean, there is a lot of people very, very proud of the Irish kind of thing and the
mhm,
Irish traditions and the music and whatever, you know. So
mhm,
the fact that it's really nice to hear you say, like, you know, because you're not claiming to be Irish, but you're saying
mhm,
that like you came to Ireland and you saw and heard and you know, all the sights and the sounds and that, and it's something that you've obviously carried on listening to, and
Yeah.
you know, like we will get stuck into. Um,
Mhm.
but like you mentioned about singing, something you've always done. Like, I'm curious to know, is it something that you practice?
That's a good question too. Uh, I don't practice as much as I should.
Okay.
um, but before the pandemic started, I was in a Irish band in
Hmm.
LA, and it was a trad band, so just playing all kinds of traditional Irish music. We play in different venues and pubs and things, and so um, I didn't really know that much about it before,
Hmm.
but once being in the band, then I was actually hearing song names and the favorites that are out there. And I admit I still need to study more. I feel like I always need to study more and more. But when I was obviously when things were open and pre-pandemic, then I was practicing more,
Hmm.
and that's when I sang that song. Wildwold Valley was when I was playing a lot out
Hmm.
in LA live. But I do need to practice more.
Yeah.
You're calling me out.
No, you know, I'm calling myself out. You know, obviously I don't perform anymore like I used to do, it's just in pubs and that. But when I do it, I've kind of gotten back into it just through this, you know. And I know you've seen Live and Joyful, but we do something on Facebook as well, and I play a song before each you know, live segment, and I'd always get a little bit nervous, and I wouldn't get nervous if it was just talking. But if I had to
Mhm.
play the song, but it was good for me. It was good for my anxiety to be out of my comfort zone initially. But I never practiced singing. I never thought of practicing singing. I never thought of myself as being a good singer. So I was just like a backing singer. And I thought I should practice now. You know, as you get
Mhm.
older, I think you need to kind of keep it warm. So I'm getting better at that. Like,
Yeah, you're
we
right.
are going to get involved in the Well Below the Valley and all what goes around. But I'm just going to read an advert, so you can just take a sip of your tea there and just
All
relax
right.
for a bit.
I will.
Good. So, Fusion Training Center, Monksland Athlone, a place to train in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, kickboxing, martial arts, and CrossFit. A great atmosphere with experienced coaches and a real sense of community. If you want to join the team, find us on Fusion. There, I got it wrong. Find us on Facebook at Fusion Training Center or drop in for a chat. Fusion Training Center, train like a warrior. That's obviously the gym is not open at the moment with us, you know, obviously nothing is, but hopefully it will be soon, and then we'll all be rushing back in there and choking and kicking each other and whatever we do. So are you aware now, this is going to sound like I'm having a go or a bit of a dig, and I'm not. Okay,
Mm.
I just want to describe it's going to have a big build up
Mm-hmm.
for a reason. Okay, so
Okay.
there was a guy, Seamus Ennis, and he was a famous uilleann pipe player. Okay, and he
Mhm.
said that the bodhrán was best played with a penknife. And I heard this. I know, yeah. I heard this right through somebody else. It was somebody else said it, and I didn't know the initial reference, right? So I had to
Mhm.
look it up. Now, um, I think an uilleann pipe should be played with a penknife, but that's just me. That's my opinion. People can just relax. Um, what I would say about the bodhrán, it's not my favorite instrument, and the reason it's not my favorite instrument is because half of Ireland thinks they can play it, and they can't because there's a subtlety to it. And
Yes.
here's me turning it around now. Here's me turning it around. Okay, when you play it, and when you play it in the Well Below the Valley in the performance, the live performance you did that became your single,
Mhm.
there's much subtler sound. The way you play it, the way you have skill and have clearly learned how to play it correctly. And I think
Thank you.
my problem with the bodhrán has been that person who's just been hammering it, hammering it, hammering it. You know,
Mhm.
um, what attracted you to the instrument?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I'm not a drummer. I I grew up playing the piano,
Okay.
and then I played the guitar, and the bodhrán. It's what drew me to it. So when I was Well, can I talk about the whole song and how I heard that
Yeah,
song?
I'm just gonna say that the Well Below the Valley is Sia's single, and it's a song by, if you don't know, it's a song by Planksty. So I do want to get into that. So take it away.
Yeah, so the first time I ever saw a bodhrán, obviously we hear drums our whole life and they're around us a lot. But first time I saw a bodhrán was on the TV, and my parents had rented a movie called The Magdalene Sisters.
Hmm.
Have you heard of that film?
Very cheery film. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like 11 years old,
Oh man.
and they rented it. And they were always renting crazy films, just like, wow. Anyway, so the first scene of that is a wedding, and the priest or a pastor is singing that song. That's the first time I ever heard it. And of course, Irish music had been around me. You know, it's so ubiquitous around the world. So I grew up hearing it, but that was the first time I heard it in a different way. It wasn't, you know, like a pop kind of version of Irish music. It was acoustic, you know, very minimal, and there was a drum playing. And something about it just went straight to my heart, like right into my soul. And I think because it sounds so ancient that way, and the way that man was singing, I think his name is Sean Mackin, but I haven't been able to find much about him on the internet. But it was just so raw. It was so raw and real, and it wasn't all polished up. And that's what I loved about it. I just was entranced. And you know, I obviously at some point left the room because the movie was so awful. It's a really, I mean, it's like people should watch it to know what happened. But it is a really, really difficult movie. And you know, but that's actually where I first heard the bodhrán, and I just heard this, you know, it's called The Drum of Many Voices. And so that's what really attracted me as well, is something that was so ancient, and it just calls back hundreds of years back to me. But that's where I first heard the bodhrán, and I mainly heard, you know, learned from him playing it, and he plays in his own unique way where, like you said, it's not really like hammering on the whole time. Like he does play with tact and sensitivity. And so for me, that's what I thought it was like, you know. And so that was my main influence in how, you know, to me, a bodhrán should sound. But that was my biggest influence in terms of that instrument.
When you where were you when you performed it for the single?
That was in a bar in West Hollywood.
Was it
in
Irish
LA.
bar?
Actually, no. So it's called a little shout out, Bar Lubitsch in West Hollywood. But it was after a long set of my own music. So I was playing the guitar, I was playing jazzy, folk, some covers and some original stuff. And at the very end, I kind of just wanted to surprise people with this totally different thing. And so that was the last song. And it was funny because everyone was like, oh, what was that? What was that? They were like, your other songs were good, but what was that last song? And so, yeah.
I listened to it again last night, and I've obviously listened to it a few times now. What I love about it is the kind of space in it, and the idea of using the bodhrán as a you know, almost like a backup instrument rather than like the driving force of the song. So the song is your voice is what like carries the song, and it's very strong voice. But yeah, that's what I liked about your bodhrán playing in it. It is very subtle. You use the rim of the bodhrán as well, which is always a nice little touch. And like I was saying about when people play the bodhrán well, when they mute it and leave it open and stuff, that to me is more appealing, you know, than just bashing away on it. But yeah, what like the difference to what you know, to say the Planksty version is more of a full band version, and slightly slower, I think, in the way it's delivered. And yours is a bit quicker with the words. But We were just chatting before we came on, and you asked me, did I know what it's about? And I didn't. What is the song about?
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, if you're not listening, it's hard to, understand the whole story if you're just, listening to the song, but it is a murder ballad.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically the abuses that are happening to one of the main characters in the song, who is a woman who's being abused by her family. And so, and I won't go too much into it, but that's the gist of it. And for me, when I heard the song, obviously I heard it from the movie, and, what a fitting song, in a really sad way. But that's why they, I believe the filmmakers included it in that film. But for me, I just always heard men singing it. And so I was like, I could do something different with this. And even though it's about this really, horrific thing, I was like reclaiming it in a way and saying, I'm not afraid to sing about these things. I'm not afraid. And two abusers, out there, it's like I spit it back at you, And for me, that's how I was singing it, because I sang it in the Irish band that I was in. I was the bodhrán player in the band. But that was one of the songs I would do, and it was just me and the bodhrán, and there's pretty noisy clubs in LA, and I would silence the room with that, because it's saying, listen to me right now, and in that way I just it's like I was thinking about all the women in the world throughout history who didn't have a voice, that I could be singing that, from strength, from anger even, but from power. People say it sounds like a war song, and that's great. I love when people interpret it that way, because it definitely has that energy behind it.
Yeah, it's got like this kind of the feeling for me, and we'll talk about what ended up in the video for Conor McGregor and Gamma. I think it's got the you could either cry to it or go to war. It's a pretty amazing song that can actually do the two.
Thank you.
I do love that, like the atmosphere, I think, within the song, with just the bodhrán and your voice. That's what kind of struck me immediately with it. And I just, like I said, it's done well. It's changed my mind about the bodhrán. So I mean,
thank you. It's funny because in the Irish music community in LA, there is that same stereotype about the bodhrán.
Yeah.
But I would call myself, I don't know if I'm gonna get hate for this, but I would call myself the anti-bodhrán player.
I like it, and that's
where it's
good.
like it's like I just want it to, it's for me, my voice will be the storyteller, and my drum is like the partner, but it's buoying me. It's like helping me up. It's not like the main thing, but it is part of the energy. It is part of the force. But there are times in the bodhrán's louder, but then it's quieter when I'm singing.
Yeah.
And I try to have that balance with it. And I love when it's the big booming sound too. And someone told me that I have a more traditional bodhrán, I guess, where it's narrower. A lot of the ones, the rim is actually thicker.
Yeah.
So it's like a deeper, but then the drum itself is smaller, where mine is a little bit larger and then like narrower. And so it can make kind of a more booming sound, which again, I heard from my bodhrán teacher that that is a more ancient way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen people play bodhráns the size of tractor tires. They're that big, and and they'd be playing it with the leg of a table or something. I don't know.
Wow.
They're weird. But not people. I don't mean people. I just mean big, massive bodhráns are kind of strange looking.
Well, that actually reminds me. So I did grow up in Japan for many years, and I was thinking, like, why do I like that big booming sound instead of the the kind of more tippity tappity that some bodhrán, the way some bodhrán players play. And And I think it has to do with, I used to play taiko drums, just like as
Okay.
an after school thing. We had a, the big Japanese, taiko
Yeah.
drums that are this big around. And so I was wondering, like, maybe I'm meshing them together.
It could
But
be.
I'm not, yeah, it could be, but yeah, because I just haven't heard that big booming sound as much in bodhrán playing, but I like how it sounds. So
Yeah. And look, if you keep doing it your way, that's the way to do it. You've found your own style with how you do it. I think that's good. I think it's
Thank
very
you.
important. So what have you ever been someone who's again, I'm interested in people getting on stage is quite a move, really. You've seen, like, I've seen narcissists get on stage and it's been no problem, but I've seen these kind of, wallflowers getting on stage and sometimes kind of wilting a bit, but then other times kind of growing and becoming these, big personalities on stage. Have you always been quite comfortable getting on stage, or has it been difficult for you?
When I was a little girl, I was more shy. I mean, when you're really little, you're not very shy, and then you get shy again or something. And then but I even though I was shy, I didn't like that. I didn't like feeling uncomfortable about something. And so I was always singing, by myself or in the house and stuff. But there was a time, I think, it must have there. Okay, when I think back, everything has a backstory. But when I think back, everything was happening at once because I saw that film. I also discovered Appalachian music, which is a kind of American music, from the Appalachian Mountains here in America, where hundreds of years ago, immigrants from England, Ireland, and Scotland came, and all the songs are still there. They're still preserved there, like after hundreds of years. And so that music also it just feels so ancient. And sometimes it's just one person singing all by themselves, or they're playing with a fiddle, but that's it, and around the same time I saw that film, I also discovered Appalachian music. And that also was fascinating to me because it's just them singing by themselves. I was like, wow, that takes a lot of bravery and courage. And to me, that was, at the time, it really influenced me because I thought, that's it. Like, that is the root of music, of singing, is to be able to sing with no accompaniment. And so I guess from 11 onward, that's what I was doing, actually. So I went from being shy to suddenly singing whenever anybody asked me to. And that was a decision I made. It's funny because, like, how did you do that? It's like, I don't know. I just decided one day that I wasn't going to be shy anymore. I was also just so, like, annoyed too. Like, I wish I wasn't like this,
Yeah.
I definitely had that feeling. And so I just decided, like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I don't care if I'm scared. I'm just going to do it, Excuse me. But I had these, like, role models, in the Irish music and also in the Appalachian music, because they would just, be a room full of people, and then they just stand up and I have a song and just stand up and sing a song. And their music also has that plaintive, mourning, haunting sound where it's, like you said, I love what you said. It's like either go to war or make you weep. I wanted to make people feel things, even if they couldn't understand what I was saying. To me, it's deeper than that. It's the feeling.
Yeah, it's so
the human emotion.
Yeah, it's so important to be properly, like, touched emotionally by music, like, and whatever the emotion might be. It's very hard for me to kind of really get into a certain type of music or a certain band or artist if I don't find that connection with them. I might get into a song, say, but never get into, like, a back catalog kind of thing. And it seems for you that, like, your influences seem to be, and I'm sure they're very varied, and we'll get into it, but that the idea of being in, like, old Irish kind of thing, and the Appalachian, I probably obviously pronounced that wrong all my life, but that's the way the Appalachian, the Appalachian music and the Appalachian Trail, and that kind of, like you say, the folksy balladeer. a lot of darkness in the lyrics in those songs too. But is that fair to say that you're more influenced by that kind of music than any other?
Yeah, I mean, you have such great questions.
Oh, thank you very
much. Yeah, I mean, that the kind of dark, haunting sound, I've, in my, researches on my own, I found it all over the world. There's music all over the world, folk music from Macedonia, from Mongolia, Japanese folk music. They have that sound too. And it's like a lonesome voice, like a plaintive, lonesome voice, but also there's so much strength and energy, and it just pierces you. And so that was fascinating to me. I'm like, this must be some kind of ancient human thing, because that's what I am fascinated by. I love what connects us, or I'm very interested in kind of prehistory, when before we could write things down, but we were still human beings, what was that like? And to me, those songs, I think, were passed down from those times, obviously we'll never know, but if it just strikes people, no matter where they're from, if it strikes in the same way, I'm finding that similarity that we all have, that we all turn, when I would do that first long note, a gentleman, and just I was calling people people to listen, and it'd be this rowdy pub, and people were drinking, and just be like, whoa, like we just see all these heads turn, and that's what I want to call that ancient part of us that I don't think we see anymore, modern society, but we all physiologically, we're all still the same, I would say, like, time frame, I don't know, 8,000 years ago or something, something like that. But I don't know, that's what fascinates me, and that's where the mystery is. And it's something that I'm trying to find and discover too, because people ask me, like, why do you sing that song like that? And honestly, it developed from singing in those very noisy places. And it was almost like, how do I sing it to make people turn around and look at me? And sometimes I wouldn't get it, and sometimes I would. And yeah, it's very mysterious, but I was like trying to figure out how, like, how basically how to pierce the soul. And I love when it's raw and emotional, and I don't know if that's a gift that I can give to people, to feel something like that, like, then I've done my job,
Yeah, I like that. It is very, very primal, that the note at the start, and obviously why people turn their heads. It's us. But there's this I was listening to an interview. This is just kind of jumping off something that you said there. I was listening to an interview with Serge Tankian from System of a Down the other day. Okay, so do you know System of a Down, right?
I know of them. I don't know the music very well.
That's all right. But what I found amazing about System of a Down when I first started listening to them back in like 2001, 2002, that they use Armenian folk music and folk rhythms in their songs, and it's not something that I would pick up on, initially, because I wouldn't have the connection there. I wouldn't have known. But when I first read about it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that they are thinking back to hundreds of years before, to this kind of old music that their grandparents and before that would have heard. But he said that it wasn't thought of. They didn't say, right, we're going to write this, metal song and then put some Armenian folk rhythms in there. They said it was like a primal instinct on their part that as a band, they're four guys from LA, but they're obviously got Armenian descent, that it came into their songs. And I found that incredible that, if he said, oh, we put that in there on purpose, you'd be kind of going, that's pretty cool. But the fact that they didn't think about it and it was already in them, I was just staggered by that. And it just shows that, like, it's still around. It's obviously it's dying away a bit now, where you don't hear it as much, the kind of old folk music like that. But yeah, to hear a metal band put some Armenian folk in, I just thought that's great. Like, I think that's great, you know, to hear. But so when did you realize that Gamma were going to have your version of the song in one of their videos?
So I have that video on YouTube, and it's been there for 2 years, and it's on its own. It's always garnered really positive comments. You know, I'm always getting comments every week, or new followers, or just people have really nice things to say. When it's out there in public, you think there'll be some trolls, but I've been very blessed. Like, everyone's been so nice, and you know, last 2 years, and so I get these messages, and and so I woke up that morning, and I thought I got one of them. And sometimes they, you know, they find my Facebook, and so
Go.
that's why.
Morning.
That's our rooster.
Morning.
I live on a ranch.
Okay.
Pardon the rooster.
That's all right.
There he is again. Oh my God.
He's more than welcome. I might
have to chase him away.
No, leave him. He's grand. It's a lovely little background noise. Yeah, he's fine.
All right. What was I saying?
But the video, the comments in the video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I got one, and I thought it was just one of those comments. Oh my gosh, he's right by the door. You might have to. If you want,
I can fill in while you're gone.
Okay, hold on a second.
No, go for it. Yeah, just for people who don't know what Gamma is, before we go into it, that's Calvin and Philip Mulpeter. They set up Gamma, which is the I thought she was coming back. So they set up for MMA and jiu-jitsu amateur stuff at young level. So it's a brilliant thing to do, because we don't have any of that. So Philip was on before, Philip the Honey Badger, Mulpeter. He was on before chatting about it. Obviously, I've had Calvin on talking about it as well, and he'll be back on again on Wednesday when I talk to him on the Live and Joyful. But it's a great thing. And when I'm talking to the rooster's gone. No, I was just explaining what Gamma was to people, in case they didn't know. And yeah, I was just actually leading into your bit about the Well Below the Valley was used, and you can take it away from there.
Right. Thank you for doing.
That's all right.
So I woke up, and it was early in the morning, so I was a little sleepy. And can you still hear him?
No.
Okay, good. So I thought it was one of those comments like, "Oh, it's so good, I loved your music," and then I woke up and went to my boyfriend, and I was like, "Hey, I got this nice message," and I started reading it. It's like, "We all loved your song on Conor McGregor's video. Do you have anything on Spotify or iTunes or something?" And as I was reading out loud, I was like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "The fighter? What is happening?" And we're both really confused. And then I was asking this random guy on Facebook, and he's from New Zealand. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, it's all over the place. It's on his Instagram. It's on," and I was like, "What?" It's on his Facebook and all this stuff. And I kept having, I was just so confused. I was like, what do you mean my song? He's like, "That's your song, right?" And he showed me, he had to send me all the things, because I didn't know what he was talking about. And but it was really fun. He's like, "Oh, no problem, you're great." And oh my gosh, it was so crazy. Just, I mean, it was viral for that moment, on his page, getting over 1 million views, and that's just amazing. And in this world where it's like, it's a blessing and a curse, because anyone can post stuff online whenever they want, but how are we all going to see all the millions of things that are out there? And so in that way, oh my gosh, it was such a huge blessing as an artist to to be put out there, and to have someone so influential and so inspiring to, you know, and a fighter, put my music out there was just so incredible. I mean, sometimes I'm just like, did that really happen? And and just to like check, I like see, and you know, he still follows me on Instagram. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah,
But
I think, well, like when I first saw the video, and obviously Calvin posted it and Gamma posted it, and
right.
I heard the song, and what it reminded me of is that, you know, when I talk about people being very proud to be Irish, obviously Conor McGregor is one of those people. He comes across as that person. He's very quick to grab the flag when, you know, when he wins and whatever. And he had like one of his songs, like he used to come out to Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., but he used to have like the Foggy Dew with Sinead
Right.
O'Connor, and that was what it kind of reminded me of. That really, like I said earlier on about that the war thing, you know, and the fact that it doesn't have to be like a heavy metal song to inspire someone to kind of.
Right.
I'm not saying start the war. I'm not. Please, nobody listens to start a war, but that kind of idea of kind of getting someone going, or inspiring them to do something different.
Exactly.
And
super motivating.
yeah,
Like to be the best you can be.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
And like when I saw your song, like Calvin had put up to follow you, so I followed you, and then I noticed that your numbers are going up, but I didn't realize that, you know, it was over 1 million like people hearing the song in the video and stuff like that. So that must have been pretty, like you said, yeah, pretty crazy to kind of take
and
in.
it all happened because of Gamma, you know. You know, they searched for a song and they found my song and thought it was suitable, and and you know, so I really have them to thank. And you know, I'm not really in the martial arts world, I would say, and so I had to do my own research. I was like, who's Gamma, what's happening? And but realizing their mission, and I feel like super supportive of them and what they're bringing, you know, to Ireland and to the world.
It is it's very exciting for Ireland. It's hugely exciting for Ireland to get a you know, promotion like that to be doing, especially for for very young people to be getting an opportunity
to uplift the youth.
You know,
there is so much to be proud of.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
being
great.
Irish.
And Calvin is a great ear for music as well. He's a really good like knowledge of music and all things really. Like, so for him to get that song, to pick that right song for the right video, is just it lines up so well.
I know, and for me, for me, it's a very beautiful thing, because what Irish music has given to me is so beautiful and so deep, and has enriched my life. And so in a way, you know, that my song can kind of return to Ireland and, you know, like uplift the youth and uplift everybody there to, you know, to get up in the morning to fight, you know, in their own way, and whatever they're you know, struggling with in their life, or just something they have to get through. You know, if my song can inspire that, you know, that is, it's just, I received this amazing gift of Irish music, and I've been lucky enough to play it so much, and that Irish people have been so generous, you know, like allowing people, you know, all over the world, like non-Irish, to partake in their music and share it. You know, I've just been met with so much just graciousness and love, you know, like, well, thank you for sharing our music. And I'm like, wow, thank you so much. Just the generosity, and that's me giving back too. This is my gift back, the gift that like your people have given me. You know?
And if people haven't heard the version of The Well Below the Valley, it's on Spotify, isn't it? It's on Apple. That's where I got it, so I know it's there. Obviously you can see the live where it was shot, where it was recorded on YouTube, which is really cool. So we will get into that at the end as well, just to kind of, because we like to give people the little bit of a chance to self-promote, even though people don't like it. I like to make people uncomfortable at the end of the episode. But so what do you like to do then? Outside of music, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I like to do so many things that I have to kind of cut down.
Okay.
No, I just don't have enough time in the day. But I'm a rock climber.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done that in a little bit. It's winter here, but I love being outdoors. I love hiking, mountaineering. I was also an ocean swimmer, and I just love being in nature. But yeah, when I'm in a more quieter mood, reading, I listen to so much music. I feel like there isn't enough years in a life to listen to all the music that I want to listen to. But yeah, I feel like I'm always on this journey of learning, discovering more. And one of the things I love to do is sing and listen to learn traditional music in a way to keep it alive. Or just sing it, interpret it in a way to show it's the strength that I hear, in the song. Because I just love history so much. And so part of what I do, I feel like, is preserving history at the same time bringing it, to the present in a way where, we can still all relate to this, even though it is over 500 years old, this is still important. It's part of our, human history or human tapestry. So I do have, great joy in finding and singing, ancient music. And I always ask my listeners, like, please, recommend me more music, because I'm just me here, researching on my own. And I've some people have reached out and sent me some songs that I'll probably do.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm excited for those. Yeah.
Just make sure that Seamus Ennis, the uilleann pipe player, isn't one of those people, all right? Because he was slamming that instrument for no reason. Yeah, don't mind him.
I'm used to it. I'm used to
yeah, like everybody gets used to those kind of things. But are you like where you're living? Are you close to the coast?
So I basically live. I'm in between LA and Tehachapi, and Tehachapi is a small town 2 hours north of LA, and here it's mountains, and so
right, nice.
We get all the seasons. So we got snow last week, so it's Southern California, but as soon as you go up in elevation, it's a very different climate. I would say like high desert. We're in high desert area here. But then when I'm in LA, I have the ocean too. So
I saw a picture on your Instagram, and I saw it somewhere with snow in it, and I was kind of like, where in California is that? I was just trying to figure it out. I learned my I've never been further west than Chicago. Okay, so it's always been like New York and Florida and things, right? So I was watching, and I think I learned the rest of my weather information from America from films. So I was watching a film once, and it was in New Mexico, and it started snowing, and I was like, that can't be right, is it? It turns out it does snow in New Mexico.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the jobs I had a few years ago was a tour guide in the Southwest, and so I would take people out on tours to the different national parks there. And one day it'd be sunny and hot and t-shirt weather, and next day cold and snow. And a lot of my clients were from Europe or Asia, and so they're like, it's gonna snow here. I'm like,
yeah, we don't.
It does. We get lots of snow sometimes. Well, not lots of snow, but it does get very cold. And the thing about the West Coast is that elevation can change really rapidly. We have very high mountains all over the place, and and as soon as you go up 1,000 feet, it's totally different. Here we're about 4,500 feet.
Oh, okay, you're high.
We're high. So and there's mountains here, and the tops of those we have conifers, pine trees, and there's still snow up on them. So I love being up here, because I could go play in the snow in the morning, and then the same day go drive down to the beach and have a swim,
Nice. Yeah, that's
so it's a nice thing about living here, and you're able to be active and do all those different activities that I like to do, because when it doesn't rain as much, so you can be out more. And, So yeah, I think
I was supposed to ask.
influenced me.
I was supposed to
Right.
ask with when you came to Ireland, where did you go in Ireland?
So that was let's see, when was that? That was in, I think, 2011. And so 10 years ago, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But I was there for 2 weeks, and I was actually in a choir. We were in a glee club, and we were touring the country and singing in different churches and chapels, and just randomly, you know, whenever we went to, like, on the street or something, do like a sudden, like, random concert, be like, oh my gosh, you know, like a flash mob or something. But it was really fun.
Yeah. Was that at the peak of the Glee time when the actual TV program was? Okay.
What's really exactly, so we had shirts made because we were a real Glee club from, you know, a college, from university, and we had the shirts made in the same, like, logo, similar logo as the show. So people were asking us, are you from the TV show? Are you from the TV show? We're like, no, but we're better.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. We had a lot of fun. But so it was through that lens, you know. So I was traveling with the group, and I had to go early because I had a different plane ticket, but I spent a couple days in Shannon, and just went all through the country, Connie, Cork, ended up in Dublin. It was wonderful. I wish I could have stayed longer. And you know what? The whole time we had the most beautiful weather.
Really?
It was like sunny and beautiful. And they're like, you guys are from California? Yeah. You guys brought the sunshine.
Yeah, we always say that. It's so irritating. We always say that. Oh, you brought the rain, you brought the sunshine. Couldn't have brought everything, you know. I'm glad you got the nice weather though.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember it raining once. So it was like maybe not a very Irish experience in that way.
No, it wasn't.
Maybe once, I don't remember, but it was so beautiful and so green. So green and beautiful. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful here, but, you know, in a different way. Definitely not as green and lush.
Yeah, no, it is pretty green and lush. And of course, like everybody, when you live somewhere, you take it for granted. You don't see it as much as you should. But before what are your plans for the future music-wise?
Music-wise, so when this all happened, you know, obviously in the pandemic and live music was shut down. And so I've just been going to school and working and kind of living a normal life like that. And then all of this happened, and it's like, oh my gosh, my music. And, you know, people go through this where you leave things on the back burner. And, you know, I was definitely guilty of doing that. But this whole experience has reminded me that, you know, I do have a gift and people want to hear it. And, you know, it is my duty to share it with them, you know? You know, because I have this, you know, the questions, you know, questioning that happens is, well, it's not all about you, or it's not making it about, you know, and, you know, I never want to be like that. I want to be more humble, you know, but in a way, in order to share this music, you know, you have to put yourself out there. You have to believe in yourself enough to do that, even if it is, you know, just sharing it with people. Because for me, especially the traditional music, like Mobile of the Valley, I feel like I am a vessel, you know, I am the person singing it, but it is so much bigger than me. You know, it's so much older and so much history. And I just want to, you know, sing it the best way I know how, you know. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, my plans for the future are to record more and honor this music, especially, you know, I've just had so much outpouring, you know, this beautiful outpouring of support and love, you know, for my voice. And so, you know, I do want to record more songs and put them out there and just continue doing that and see what happens. Because for me, it's, you know, it's the experience, it's people feel something with my music. That's the most important thing. So for me, I'm trying to reorganize my life right now so that, to facilitate that, because when it happened, I was just, working and studying, and I've been really busy. And so now I guess near future is cutting out, making time, putting enough time aside where let me shift my priorities, and this is important enough to do.
Oh yeah.
And I've put it aside for way too long. It's something that it's been a dream of mine to do for many years, and it really has been such a huge blessing that Gamma chose my song and that Conor McGregor shared it, because it's just this reminder, like, hey, do your music. Don't forget about it.
Yeah, for sure. And where can people find it? And I know I mentioned already, but better for you to.
Yes. You can find my music basically on all platforms. I would say Spotify, iTunes, Apple Play, YouTube. Just search my name, Saya Novinger.
Correct pronunciation. Very well.
Yes, Saya Novinger. And you'll find Well Below the Valley, and I hope to have more songs coming out, originals, as well as more folk songs. And
brilliant.
Yeah.
I could never have expected that there'd be a rooster interrupt one of my one of my podcasts. I was happy for him to stay. He wasn't bothering me. But it's been really brilliant talking to you, Saya. It's been a proper pleasure, and we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, Derek. And I've been looking forward to this a lot, because you were part of that experience too from the beginning, when everything happened, when Gamma shared it and Conor McGregor shared my music. You're one of the first people I followed, and I saw you interview Calvin. And so when you reached out to me, I was just so excited. I was like, yes. I was wondering if you would ask me. So really happy you did, and thank you for this.
No, absolutely. I was always gonna, as soon as it started happening for you, I was always gonna try and get you on. And I know it's a weird. I know still it's weird asking people, especially people that you haven't met before or spoken to before. But I have to kind of. It's one of those things. I suppose it's you just have to go for it. Like you were saying about the music, if it's something that you should do and you feel like this person will make a good guest and an interesting guest, well, just ask them. And if they say no, they say no. It's not the end of the world.
Well, I really love what you're doing and the topics that you bring up. And I think it's needed,
Thank you very much.
Talking about it.
Stick around with me for just 1 minute. I'll close out the show. I just want to get a quick photo with you after, okay?
All right.
So, thank you very much to John for actually, especially this week to John, because I've been annoying him to do more things, like putting the videos up and doing the edit on the video, and just annoying him with stupid questions that, like, he's probably going, how does he not know this stuff? And I'm thinking, well, I'm a bit older than you, John. I don't know this stuff. But I really appreciate it, John. My mom, my dad, my granddad, to Jer, and to Calvin, who's been mentioned a few times already. Did you know that
Calvin?
Did you know that Calvin did the change the music at the start of this podcast? He actually did. He did the music for it.
He did. Wow, that's cool. He has many talents.
Yeah, he is. He does some cool stuff with the synth music, and. I had the song. I wrote the song years and years ago, and I put up just the guitar part for it, and I didn't really like it. It didn't kind of nicely, kind of smoothly go into the start of the episode. So I heard Calvin's stuff, and he was good enough to do it. So he's a man of many talents, is right. Find us on YouTube. Like I said before, subscribe if you would. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On all the podcast platforms, the usual ones. Thanks to everyone for listening and for watching. If you did watch, thanks very much. And to Saya again for joining us. And I didn't mess up her name once, and I'm very happy about that. I did enough of that during the week. But listen, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.